Life is a long highway and I'm just doing the best I can.
Welcome back to the Straight Line to Success. Today I am happy to have my friend Sam Sokolow back today. You know, appreciate you coming back. We said we got to get you back. We got you back. We got you back pretty quickly too. So.
Yeah, no, fast. I'm still wearing my favorite sweater.
Don't even have to change clothes.
Yeah.
But anyway, we just had so much fun in that first episode, but wanted to get back and talk to you a little bit more about some of the projects that you've actually done in South Carolina. You know, your background in film, for those that don't know film, you consider yourself a producer because you are a producer. Hard to, you know, as an entertainment lawyer, having worked with a lot of producers and different formats over the years. It's like, is it a music producer, you know, film producer, producers? I mean, that definition is almost undefinable. It's almost undefinable. It really depends on the context. But I've never met anybody like you. I mean, you really have some incredible skill sets of, you know, the experience that you've had, the package of humility that it comes with. I mean, really, it's been an honor to watch you. I've learned a lot, and I appreciate you sharing those talents with me. We're going to get you more involved with the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame if we can, and what we're doing. But today I do want to share with our audience your production. You have made a film at Clemson University with students. So
Yes.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about this filmmaking that you have done at Clemson University. So just pick our audience up and tell us all about it.
You got it. And it's wonderful to be back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really a pleasure, and enjoy our conversation so much.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so I am a professor. I'm what's known as a professor of practice
Okay.
at Clemson University, which means I bring in expertise from a field. There are professors of practice in engineering and any other discipline, which means I'm relatively new to teaching after having a career doing something.
Yes.
And at least achieving a modicum of success to where they feel like I can share it with others.
There you go.
And so
Appreciate the humility.
it's truly my honor every day to get to go to that campus. It's pretty incredible. Pinch myself. So when I got to Clemson, Clemson had a really outstanding film theory sort of track.
Okay.
And film theory, I guess, is simply defined as, you know, understanding the language of film, watching films, breaking down visual storytelling, you know, writing papers on how films are designed, made, what the visual relationship is with an audience and how people respond. It's sort of like becoming an architect, right? You got to know how to make a blueprint to then build the building.
Okay.
I'm the builder.
All right.
Right? I make things. So Clemson, when I came, while having this amazing film theory side, it did not have a production side. And so I'm there building the production side of the film school and really trying to elevate the film school. And why that's important is because, you know, people want to make films. You know, when you study film, sure, you want to understand films, but I think you want to be filmmakers. You know, that's what I found. There's a lot of young, incredibly talented, driven, smart young people with discipline and drive, but they want to make movies.
Forget the theory. Get me into the mix.
Yeah, or take the theory
Yeah.
and apply it to the mix.
All right.
And let's go make stuff, right? Because ultimately, making stuff is what we do.
Right.
So when I got there, I kind of quickly realized that one of the benefits of starting something or being a part of the beginning of a new part of this program was that we could do things that we felt were the right way to do things, or really bold or interesting, and we weren't bound by how it was ever done before. So when I looked at the success of the Clemson football team, specifically,
Yep.
you know, they don't play two-hand touch in their mom's backyard and then go to the NFL. They train like professional football players. They play in front of 80,000 people, bigger stadiums than NFL stadiums. They play on national television. The facility there for them to learn, train, you know, go through the treatment process to stay on the field and stay active. I mean, it's up here. They challenge those student athletes to be the best in the world.
Yep.
That's what I wanted to do with the Clemson Film Program.
Wow.
I wanted to challenge those students to be the best in the world, and you don't do that by aiming for the middle. So knowing how filmmaking works in a fundamental way,
Right.
really the best way to learn is to work on a movie and work on a feature film, work on a long-term project. I'm a real fan of short films. We teach short films. We have short film classes. There are great short film festivals and programs, and you learn again by making and doing. And
short film, just for our audience. Short film is how long?
Kind of 20 minutes or less.
Okay.
Maybe I think the Academy might define it as a half hour or less, but 20 minutes or less.
And feature.
And feature length is usually 90 minutes or more.
All right.
Okay. And so, making a short film obviously takes less time. You can shoot it in a day or 2 or 3.
Yep.
But making a longer form project takes a long time. For certain independent movies, it might be a 15 or 16 day shoot. For really big Hollywood movies, it might be a 60 to 90 day shoot. Now that's 90 days of 12 hours a day, every day, bringing your A game every day, being the same on day 15 as you were on day 1 is being a professional. In the same way that playing your best football in the fourth quarter, not the first quarter, is being a professional.
Yes.
So I want Clemson students to be ready and trained to work at the highest levels of this business. And the only way to get that experience in a certain way is by doing.
You had to do it.
We
have to do it.
So we were fortunate that the Film Commission in South Carolina supports education in the state.
That's fantastic.
It is.
Education and opportunity.
That's exactly right. Education and opportunity are what separates, or what creates success.
Yes.
Let's say. To me, not to use broad words, the difference between being an amateur and being a professional, right? That comes from education, opportunity, and then delivery. I always say being a professional is delivering. Amateurs start, professionals deliver.
Nice.
That's what makes me a professional producer. I finish projects, put them on air, put them in the theaters, put them out there.
Yeah, when you talk about, the whole team winning, success, and I know you talk about, it's not necessarily transactional, but you definitely, as a business person, you talk about the business side of whatever you're doing. I mean, you got to make money on these things eventually. There has to be an ROI, and that's part of people winning. That's part of the success team. The money's got to win too, not just the storytellers.
100%. Right? Again, the word business is twice as long as the word show. That's not a mistake.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And as a guy I know who's very successful in LA always says, it's not complicated. You make a movie for $1. If it makes 90 cents, you failed. If it makes $1.10, you succeeded.
Yeah, there
right?
you go.
Movies do have to make their money back.
They have to.
And so that's where I've developed, I think, by working with people before me that trained me and that I got to work under, my own instincts, learning how to make a film that can generate profit.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Learning how to deliver something at a cost, knowing how it's going to make a return. But the key is still delivering.
Right.
Movies will never make money if they're unfinished. So we want to teach students how to make films of a high quality and finish them and deliver them. So the state of South Carolina and the South Carolina Film Commission gave a grant, an education grant to Clemson under my guidance to do an educational project. They do that grant with the University of South Carolina. I know they do that grant, I believe, with Trident Tech, I think. But I know that they do support education around the state.
Around the state, that's right.
They were excited that I came to Clemson because they were like, we want to give a grant to Clemson.
Yeah.
We want to support education.
Right.
When I got the grant, then it really became about what do I do with it? Do I bring in a truck and just unload gear and teach kids how to use gear? No. Let's make a movie.
Okay.
They're only going to learn by doing. They're only going to learn by playing the actual game. So we built a course, a Clemson summer course, that is a filmmaking course where I was able to bring in, really high-end professionals that work on movies and TV.
Right.
Some from Atlanta, some from LA, some local.
Some from New York.
That have worked on big movies. And when I mean big movies, I mean the biggest. The Hunger Games, the Fast and the Furious franchise, Hidden Figures. These really, and then some of the people I worked with on my show, Genius, which shot its last 2 years in Atlanta. bring those people in to mentor our students, teach them how to do these jobs, teach them how to manufacture a film. And then within that course, we made what's known as a micro budget feature film, which means it costs less than $20,000.
Wow.
So, if you think about Avatar costing $1 billion, we made a movie for 20 grand.
Wow.
But we made it within the structure of the course. We did have locations at Clemson that we could use.
Yes.
But we were able to then take 20 Clemson students, put them in the crew, learning from these, very, well experienced professionals, and 18 Clemson students that wanted to try acting, who had never acted in a movie before, some theater majors,
right?
But it included Keith Adams Jr. and Kylan Griffin from the football team.
Football players in the movie.
In the movie. They wanted
that?
to try acting. We said yes because this wasn't about, do I think you're good enough? This was about an opportunity to learn, to see if you're good enough.
Yeah.
Right? This was about education. So we had 20 students on the crew, 18 students in the cast. We used, professional agreements. We worked with the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild of America. So a South Carolina creator named Julia Fowler wrote the movie and directed the movie. She's from Gaffney.
Yep.
I was fortunate that I I was able to negotiate a pretty good deal with her.
Yeah.
Because I'm married to her.
You had the inside track on that one.
I had the inside
She's
track.
a beautiful lady.
Not in every case.
Super
but
creative.
Yeah, no, she's unbelievable. So we were very, very fortunate to get someone who'd worked in film, in television, on Broadway, to come and really be the lead creative. But she also brings the values of this community.
Right.
She's a Gaffney girl.
That's right.
She's an upstate girl. And I think she led by example in that way. And then we were able to bring on 10 or 11 Screen Actors Guild actors, who'd literally been in everything from Forrest Gump to The Walking Dead, to come and act shoulder to shoulder with these Clemson students who had never acted before.
Incredible experience.
And Julia, really led a 6-week boot camp to teach them how to act in this film. And they were remarkable. And then on the crew side, these students weren't running around getting coffee.
Right.
They were running cameras, by day 3. They were setting the art. They were setting the lights. We empowered them to really be the crew that made the film. And we did it. And we made a movie in 16 days.
16 days.
We shot, again, to calibrate for the audience at home, a movie like Oppenheimer might shoot, a quarter of a page in a day. They'll take a whole day to shoot like one moment of something.
Mm-hmm.
Or Dune 2 spent like 30 days just shooting the effect of the guy riding the worm, Timothée Chalamet riding the worm. So we shot about 8 pages a day.
Wow.
So it was very run and gun. We did it in a style that was known as mockumentary style. So sort of like the TV shows The Office,
Yep.
or Modern Family, or Abbott Elementary. There's a style of production where you can accomplish quite a bit that also feels very grounded and authentic.
Yep.
And that was the creator's vision. But as we talked about, the visionary behind a project is a little bit like the lead designer at BMW. They have the creative vision, but it's the assembly line that makes the car. It's the crew that makes the movie.
Gotcha.
So these Clemson students made this film and acted in this film. And we now have a 2-hour movie. It's a feature film. It'll premiere in the spring of 2026. It's called Student Film, the Movie.
Huh.
And what it really is to me is a example of how giving people opportunity and sort of demanding and challenging them to rise to the occasion. And that's really what Julia talks about all day long. Teach up here. Don't teach down here. Teach up here and demand that excellence. It's the same thing Dabo does on the football team. Demand excellence. And we demanded excellence from this group of students, and they delivered.
Right.
And it was remarkable to see. So I'm excited to share that movie with the world, share Clemson's first ever, feature film. And it was a success already in terms of the process. And so we got the grant again for next year. We'll be making another movie next summer at Clemson with another group of students.
Awesome.
And another group of educators. And the goal is to kick out artists that don't only have vision, but literally know how to do the process and make films themselves. It's about empowerment.
Yeah, well, I was empowered. I came over there. Thank you for inviting me to come and check. And when I showed up at the Clemson facility over there, the Reeves Center, and you had the cicadas. The cicada. There was no tiger paw in there. There was a big cicada, and then Jeff Davis's Paul Journey had the cicadas on it. You had
as a character in the movie. Yeah,
it was incredible. I mean, it was incredible to see that Clemson got behind this thing like they did. Dabo and his team, Jeff Davis, all those guys. They opened it up. They let their players come in. Keith Adams Jr. I saw him, and the other player,
Kylan Griffin.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is he? Both of
Kylan
them
Griffin.
are such talented, driven, smart, sensitive. I mean, they're just beautiful guys.
Yeah.
And as a producer, I work in the arts. So when you see young men that other people would think of as just tough and strong and
hammerhead
and all that, yeah. And to see his sensitivity and his art and his craft come to life.
Yeah.
By giving the education and opportunity, that's why we do it.
Yes.
Right? That's why we do it. So, I think that the football, team and Dabo and excuse me, let me take that just back a second because I burped. The football program,
yep.
And Jeff Davis and Dabo and all those folks, they didn't do it because I asked. They did it because their student athletes wanted to try something, wanted to learn something, wanted to expand their knowledge base and their talent base and their skill base. And I will tell you, I am inspired every single day by how Dabo Swinney runs that football program.
Yeah.
Not just the results, it's the process that he runs, the value system that he has in place there is something that I aspire to for the film side. And part of his process is making sure his student athletes not only graduate, which amazing. I mean, highest graduation rate, I think, in the country next to Harvard.
Right.
But he wants his students to have more than football. He wants them to be well-rounded individuals. So exploring the arts was something he really supported.
Yeah.
He loved it that those two guys wanted to come in. I hope more football players want to come and try either acting or working on the crew next summer.
Yeah.
Because, sports is a media monolith. I mean, the NFL might be the biggest media property in the world.
Well, that's right.
Right? And so these young men and young women athletes in the sports that they play, many of them are going to end up in broadcasting. Many are going to end up in acting. Many of them are going to end up writing books. Many of them are going to end up, coaches and doing public speaking. And so preparing them for life, either alongside football or after football or outside of football, it's just something that I know Dabo and that team takes seriously, and they did it. They supported this film.
Yeah.
First time ever, and I can't thank them enough.
No, it was great. Well, of course, Tracy Swinney, I'd be remiss if I didn't throw his name in there. Tracy's incredible.
Yes.
Really does so much stuff behind the scenes, and really, it really is an incredible organization. And talking about football, sports, competition, rivalry, no matter what time of year it is in South Carolina, there's always a big rivalry between Clemson and Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
You teach at Clemson, I teach at South Carolina, I teach at the law school, and we have something in common. We both married Gamecocks.
Yes.
Your wife's a Gamecock. I know that when y'all came to Clemson last year for the Carolina-Clemson game, y'all had some pretty strict guidelines in terms of what y'all could wear, and I know you're going probably, to South Carolina, and going to experience all of that when that game occurs. And
I'm exploring a lot of neutral colors these days, right? First of all, I love sports.
Right.
I'm a sports junkie. I'm a huge fan.
Competition, football, rivalry. How does that relate?
Well,
success.
I think that it's interesting. Okay, so when you do art, competition is a weird thing, right? Competition's a weird thing. Of course, you dream about winning Oscars and Emmys and all these awards, but ultimately it's art. So I remember before my first Emmy, when I got nominated for my first Emmy award, our first season of Genius, which was Albert Einstein's life, we were nominated against, 4 other incredible series. But one of them was Big Little Lies with Reese Witherspoon. And I ended up at a pre-Emmys event, and she was there, and we met, and I said to her something about, I never imagined I'd be in competition with you for anything. And she actually took it a little seriously and was like, look, we don't compete. This is part of the business side of it.
You're talking about Reese Witherspoon?
Yeah, Reese was like, Sam, we're artists. We don't compete. And I was like, I'm getting dressed down right now by Reese. But it's one of those things that I think I do need to remind myself that the arts is there to explore storytelling and find humanity. But when it comes to sports, rivalries, I think, drive the story. And the story, one of the reasons I love sports so much is because to me, every game is like a drama without a script. Every game, there's a story, right? When you watch the Olympics, one of the best parts of the Olympics aren't just watching the competition. It's those little segments of like, this person's mom drove them to the pool at 3 a.m. every day for 10 years and sacrificed and did all this. And that's why they're in that pool at the Olympics. Right?
Yeah.
And I think the story...
And it's all on the line.
That's right. And the stories behind sports are what I'm always interested in. And I think sports itself is a story. So a rivalry is a story. Because what's a story? A story ultimately comes down to characters and stakes. Right?
Right.
And within a rivalry, the stakes could not be higher.
That's right.
I mean, and the rivalry between Clemson and South Carolina, I might be a little biased, but I think it's the greatest rivalry in sports.
Oh, it's incredible.
And I grew up, in New York, so I grew up a New York Yankees fan. The Yankees, I went to college in Boston. The Yankees-Red Sox rivalry is a big one.
That's a big one.
It's a big one. Doesn't hold a candle to this. I have friends that went to Michigan and Ohio State. That's a big one.
Yes, it is.
Doesn't hold a candle to this. And here's why. The Detroit Lions exist and the Cleveland Browns exist, right? And the Cincinnati Bengals exist. So there's no pro sports team in South Carolina.
Right.
This is a football rivalry that's been going on since 1896, and it is the pride of the state. So I think it's the coolest rivalry in all of sports.
Yeah.
And as a fan, my wife is a Gamecock. When we met and started dating, I was a New Yorker.
Yeah.
So
didn't care.
Well, I mean, I was more of a Sunday fan.
Yeah, you were a pro guy.
I was a pro guy because Columbia, the Columbia Lions aren't exactly something to hang your hat on, right? In football, and and Fordham. There's not a lot of great football in New York, college football, and so I was wide open when I was like, oh my gosh, I'm married into the SEC. What a dream. Yeah. I have a college football team now. It's an SEC team. Her family was thrilled to have a clean slate to build on. And every Christmas I'd get hats and shirts and flags and sweatshirts. And so I became a pretty big Gamecock fan.
Yep.
And got indoctrinated in the rivalry. But I will give Julia credit for always saying, I root for South Carolina. So when Clemson and Carolina play, I root for Carolina.
Yep.
But when Clemson's playing Alabama, I root for Clemson because we want the state to do well.
Yeah.
And I thought, having met some people in this rivalry, I thought that was pretty evolved.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
not a lot.
And I support that as well. SEC, that's my team. Gamecocks, ACC, Tigers.
That's right. But now that I teach at Clemson, now that I'm a Clemson Tiger, now that I go to that campus and have an office there, and I bleed orange now and love it so much, and love the students. Yeah, I'm in love with the students. I mean, Kylan Griffin and Keith Adams, they're now young people in my life. They're people I've made a movie with. They're people I've been through that experience with. I care about them deeply. I want them to win on Saturdays. Yeah. Right? And so I can't separate. I don't know if I could. I couldn't wake up tomorrow and root for the Red Sox. I can tell you that. I couldn't wake up tomorrow and root for the Philadelphia Eagles. But somehow I can really root for Clemson and root for Carolina. Yep. And if that might sound a little offensive to anybody, then just know that as an artist, I try to find that. Now, that said, Easley is the little town between Greenville and Clemson. Yeah. I've learned how to change hats in Easley. I leave a Clemson fan, and when I walk in the door, I know my wife knows that I'm still pulling for her. That's right. Well, I think that's one of the things about sports and rivalries that, we grew up on a cartoon where there was I want to say it was like a rooster and a hound or a coyote.
and they would come in and check in, you know,
Yeah.
morning Ralph,
George or
Sam,
George and Sam. Yeah.
cling cling. They kind of come in and they go out all day long, and then they check out at night. And you know, South Carolina Clemson game, you come in, you do the best you can to win the game. You know, there might be some cheap shots in there, but you try to keep those. I mean, you still have respect for the other team. And then when you lose or win, you know, at the end of the game, it is what it is. You are from South Carolina. You're part of the community. Of course, we call it the Bridge Builder Excellence Community.
Yes.
And, you know, you have bragging rights that somebody's got to eat that crow. I mean, you know, George Rogers and our good friends, I know that's another connection that, that
Great
we
story.
have. And, you know, George and I, we were betting for years. I think we quit betting when Carolina went on that streak, and I think my wife threw the thumb in my hand. You know, gave me the thumb after the fifth. You know, and George, I was supposed to put together a shirt that said George Rogers is my daddy. You know. And buy him a steak dinner. Anyway, but some great rivalries. I love the way Julia describes that and you describe that, because really that is the spirit of, I think, what it's all about.
And I mean, she bleeds garnet and black. I mean, she's a Gamecock fan. You know, I mean, it's a big deal. But she loves the state of South Carolina more than anything.
Yeah.
And so, you know, her grandmother was the biggest dyed-in-the-wool Clemson fan in the world.
Oh, really?
I've only heard stories about her grandmother, lived for Clemson football. So her family thinks her grandmother's up in heaven putting me in Clemson. And so we always lean back on Granny Winnie, where it's like, well, Granny Winnie's probably behind us.
Oh, man, that's
so everybody
classic.
roll with it.
Yeah. Well, you know, Julia, I love her. Give the plug to that Southern Women's channel. You know, she does a great job with that. She's very creative.
So yeah, if you get a chance, anybody at home, check out Southern Women Channel on YouTube or southernwomenchannel.com. When we were out in Los Angeles working in Hollywood on the front line, she found that Hollywood wasn't always completely receptive to authentic Southern material and authentic Southern talent. And she had a whole group of Southern, you know, actors and actresses that she worked with and knew. And she just wanted to show the world and really just show herself that she could create something totally authentic and see what happened. It was coming off having a movie sold to one of the bigger movie studios. And when they put it through their marketing machine, they determined that it was like too Southern or something like that. And she's like, what does that mean?
Right.
Meanwhile, this is before Blake Shelton's the sexiest man in the world and country music runs everything now.
Yeah.
You know, I think Julia really was really ahead of that.
Yeah.
And authentic to it at the very least. And so she made a video. She said, I just want to make something. And she made a video called Stuff Southern Women Say, put it on the internet. She wasn't like a YouTube marketing genius. And like 8 million people watched it in like 72 hours.
Wow.
Ended up on the cover of the Charlotte Observer, ended up on the Today Show. And I think it was a really wonderful moment for her to not only realize her own writing and execution was something that audiences connected with, but that Southern material, you know, is exciting and has, if done authentically, is better than done inauthentically, for sure.
Well,
and it spawned, you know, this channel, which is now, I think, 12 or 13 years old. She's had, you know, 40, 50 million people watching it around the world. She's written 2 books off of it.
Yeah.
She's gotten other opportunities as a creator off of it. And you know, I mean, her main focus is still writing, directing, and acting, you know, in movies and TV.
Right.
But this channel has been a wonderful thing for both of us, and really for her, and I think for her community at large, to know that they have a voice and they have someone who really respects them and creates entertainment really authentically for a Southern audience, and they need it.
You know, I want to thank Julia Fowler for going out and grabbing one of the best entertainment producers in America and bringing him back to this area. She's done a great job for South Carolina, not only in her own right, she's an incredible talent and part of this movie that you've talked about.
Yes.
But also bringing you here, and I think that's the vision that you know, I see. So excited. I've already seen so many great things come together. This Clemson movie, we've talked about a lot. And again, we're going to have to get you back. But this Clemson movie, we want to follow that success.
It's called Student Film, the movie.
Yep.
So when you hear about Student Film the Movie, please check it out. Please support it.
Yeah.
What you're really doing is supporting Clemson students and South Carolina students who are on their way to becoming professional artists.
Well, the sports, entertainment, and business community here in South Carolina, success is one of those things. It's a journey. I think it's a journey. Success. It's always changing. Sam Sokolow, what do you want to say? Is there something I should have asked you about this film? Or I know we could talk for another hour or two, but wrap us up here with the Sam Sokolow wrap up.
Oh, wait, sure. I mean, look, the last thing I'll say, which I mentioned, I know in our first meeting, our first podcast, is that making a film is a manufacturing endeavor.
Yep.
And South Carolina is especially the upstate, one of the greatest manufacturing centers in the world. And I'm a process-oriented person. So if I could predict what audiences responded to, I'd be
cha-ching.
I mean, beyond, right? So what I know that producers can do and what artists can do is make sure that their production is a success. I want to teach students, I want the South Carolina film community to aspire to great productions, great success, doing things on time, on budget, on schedule, at a really, really, really high-end way. And if that process can be learned and repeated and executed, the results are going to be the best they can be, and then audiences can decide if they want to watch them or not. But I know that increases your chance of that. So it really is about focusing on the process, not the result. And if you do the process right, and this goes for, I think, almost anything,
yeah,
right? You don't just walk on a football field and run for a touchdown. You work out every day. You do the process, and the process leads to the success. And filmmaking is the exact same. If you do the process right, that's what leads to success.
Well, you heard it right here on the straight line of success. I mean, that is our philosophy. Do the best you can. Do the best you can. That's what we do. And of course, that changes. But we want you to hopefully enjoy this podcast. I appreciate you being supporters of the straight line of success. We're going to follow Sam Sokolow and success of the Clemson Film School, the upstate film community. And we appreciate you as always and invite you to be a part of this.
Here we go. Life is a long highway and we're doing the best we can. Everybody do your best. Come on, come on.
Do your best. Do your best. The best you can.